Keller Dover is a carpenter living with his wife Grace, daughter Anna and son Ralph. Thank God no one was named Ben. The family is going to their neighbors Nancy and Franklin, who live with their two daughters Eliza and Joy, for Thanksgiving dinner. While the adults prepare dinner, Anna and Joy want to go outside, so Keller tells her to get her brother to go along with her. The two friends get Eliza and Ralph to walk with them, when the girls begin climbing and playing on an RV park nearby. They think someone is inside, so they take the girls back to the house. After dinner, Anna wants to take Joy back to their house to get her red whistle, so Keller again tells her to ask her brother to go with her. The kids leave and the adults are gathering around chatting as Franklin torments their ears with his terrible trumpet playing. After a while, Keller comes downstairs where Ralph and Eliza are on the couch watching TV. He asks for Anna and Joy but is surprised to learn that they did not ask Ralph to accompany them. Now a bit worried, Keller runs back to the house looking for the girls but they are nowhere to be found. He gets back to the house where everyone starts to get worried. Ralph remembers the RV parked outside and they go to check but the RV is gone. Keller and Franklin frantically run to the neighbors but with no success. Keller makes a call to the cops, and Detective Loki, who is nearby, hears the call about the RV and heads to the last seen location. Loki gets there and sees the RV parked along the road and steps out into the pouring rain to investigate. Inside the RV a man sees the lights and officers and starts the RV, before driving straight into a tree. The cops cautiously approach, but they see no one in the driver's seat. Loki goes in where he spots a man trying to hide and drags him out. Loki drags him into the forest, demanding that he tells him where the girls are. The man seems lost and high on something, so they drag him to the car. Loki then orders that dogs be called to the scene to check. Later, Loki tries interrogating the man whose name is Alex Jones, trying to draw some sort of confession out of him, but Alex simply tells him he was going for a drive. He tells Loki about his aunt's house where he stays and Loki turns up there checking out the car parked in the backyard when he meets Alex's aunt, Holly. She invites him in where he learns more about Alex but nothing that points to him being guilty. The cops mobilize a search for the girls, with the Dovers and the Birches joining in. The next day Loki comes by to visit Keller and Grace to update them on the case. He reveals to them that they found no evidence of Alex being guilty and unfortunately he is mentally disabled, and Loki insists that he couldn't have taken the girls. Keller is not having it, wondering how a disabled man could drive an RV and why he would try to run if he was innocent. But Loki keeps repeating that they are considering all possibilities, and when Keller loses it, he has the nerve to tell him to calm down. Before Loki leaves, Keller wants Loki to keep Alex in custody, even if it means bending a few rules. Loki tries to talk to his captain about keeping Alex in but the captain denies this. Loki decides to visit the local hormone offenders around the area and makes his final stop at a church to see a priest, like we didn't see that coming. Loki hears no response and is stunned to see the priest on the floor, but it turns out he's just drunk out of his mind. Loki goes to check around when he sees a hidden door behind the fridge. He opens it to see a large open basement and climbs down. He checks around with his flashlight where he is shocked to see the heavily decayed corpse of a man still tied to a chair. Keller drags the priest to the basement, wanting to know the man's name but the priest tells him that the man came for confession and bragged about ending kids, so he lured him in and took his life. Seems pretty open and shut to me. Keller is with the search team the next day when he learns from Grace that the cops are letting Alex go. Keller rushes over to the station just as Alex is walking out surrounded by reporters. Keller grabs him, wanting to know where the girls are, and Alex mumbles something before the cops drag Keller off. Keller is released by the captain at the station, and reveals to Loki that Alex told him, "They didn't cry until I left them." But Loki starts doubting Keller, so he storms out. Loki goes back to speak with Holly and Alex, who denies saying anything to Keller. Loki leaves and calls Keller telling him that Alex denies saying anything, pissing Keller off. He has not been doing so well, but Grace is doing even worse, constantly crying and having a mental breakdown. Keller has had enough and leaves saying he is going to help the police search once more. Instead, Keller drives to Alex's house and waits there until night when he sees Alex come outside to allow his dog to pee. Alex then starts abusing the dog, even more reason to get his ass Keller. Even worse, Keller hears him singing a song that Anna and Joy normally sings and this pushes him over the edge. He grabs a gun and approaches Alex holding him at gunpoint, wanting to know where he heard those words. The next day, Keller comes to get Franklin, wanting to show him something. He drives to his old childhood home now abandoned, and leads Franklin upstairs to reveal that he has kidnapped Alex and has him tied up. Franklin starts freaking out but Keller tells him about the song he heard him singing and is determined to make him talk, reminding Franklin that their daughters' lives are on the line. Keller goes to Alex, telling him that he does not want to hurt him, but he will if he has to. Loki visits the previous owner of the empty home the RV was seen parked in front of, Mrs. Milland, who reveals that her son Barry was taken 26 years ago and she never saw him again. Meanwhile, Keller is beating the shit out of Alex, with Franklin holding him. Despite having his face bashed in, he refuses to talk and just stares at Keller. Keller, out of breath, wonders why he won't just talk. Well, maybe cause he has a concussion. Keller angrily grabs his hammer and wants to smash him, but deep down he is a good guy and cannot bring himself to do that much damage. 4 days after the girl's disappearance, a vigil is held on the street attended by the entire community. Loki also turns up and decides to pay his respects, when he spots a man moving real shifty among the crowd. The two make eye contact and the man turns to leave, so Loki decides to follow him. Loki then spots him sprinting across a neighbor's yard and gives chase. The man has seemingly disappeared, and Loki pulls his gun when suddenly the man jumps down out of a tree, knocking Loki down before escaping into the woods. Franklin is at home when he sees the report about the man that was chased by Loki before Keller comes to get him. He tries to convince Keller that they may have the wrong guy, but Keller is insistent that Alex knows something. Loki gets a call from a kid's store in town, saying that they saw the hooded figure in the store buying kids' clothes, and leaves his card to contact him directly if the man returns. Franklin gets home late after being out with Keller and ends up telling Nancy everything. The two immediately show up to Keller's home, and Nancy ends up asking to see him. Keller brings them to the building where Alex's face is swollen and deformed. Nancy begs him to help her, showing him a picture, but he can't even see what you're saying right now, but she begs him anyways. Nancy tries to lose him, hoping he will talk, but he suddenly tries breaking free, forcing Franklin and Keller to hold him down. Keller then uses his carpentry skills to create a closed-off room, with both boiling water and freezing water piped to the room as a torture device. Franklin thinks things have gone too far and wants to set him free, but Nancy tells him to stop and think about their daughter. Meanwhile, the hooded figure turns up at Franklin's home and breaks inside while their daughter is in the bath. When they return home, she tells Franklin that they will not help Keller, but they won't rat him out either. The figure then turns up to the Dover's home and also breaks inside. Grace hears a noise in her room and rushes to Anna's room calling for her, but only sees the window open. They call Loki over and she tries explaining, but due to her being on medication, Loki thinks she might be delusional and thinks nothing of it. She leads him to the basement where he sees Keller's survival gear and also a recently used bag of lye, knowing that it can be used to dissolve bodies, and gets suspicious. He then decides to watch Keller and follows him to see him pull into a liquor store parking lot. Keller starts walking towards the abandoned building, when a truck stops behind Loki, blowing his horn and alerting Keller to his presence. Keller instead heads inside the store and gets a bottle of liquor before walking straight towards Loki. He gets into the car and Loki wants to know where he was heading, but Keller just tells him he was clearing his head before getting a drink. He reveals that he saw the bag of lye in his basement, but Keller gets upset that Loki is wasting time following him instead of looking for his daughter. Still suspicious, Loki does some digging into Keller's background and locates his old home address and realizes it's nearby the liquor store. Meanwhile, Keller is at the building, torturing Alex with hot water, when Alex mumbles that his name is not Alex. Keller cannot understand him and breaks down in tears, praying for help. Loki pulls up to the building and Keller sees him through a window and has to think fast. Loki manages to break into the building through a window only to see Keller seemingly drunk and asleep on the floor. He explains to Loki that he comes there to drink, but Loki wants Keller to show him around. Keller brings Loki upstairs and he is about to discover the room, when he gets a call from the girl at the store saying she saw the man, and he leaves in a hurry. Loki tracks the plates of the car to the home to meet Bob Taylor, who denies running from anyone. Loki asks him about the kids' clothes he bought, but Bob tries running and gets taken down hard. He checks around to see all the walls covered in maze drawings. He stumbles upon several locked crates filled with snakes and bloody clothing. Taylor confesses to the kidnappings and draws mazes in his interrogation room. Frustrated, Loki assaults him, but Taylor gains control of another officer's gun and ends himself. The Dover and Birch families identify the bloodied clothing in photos as their children's. Keller visits Holly to apologize for assaulting Alex. He learns she and her late husband adopted Alex after their son died of cancer. Meanwhile, Loki notices a resemblance between one of Taylor's mazes and a necklace on the corpse in the priest's basement. He is informed that most of the bloody clothes were store-bought and soaked with pig blood, and that Taylor buried 2 child mannequins in the yard. He also finds Taylor's footprints below a window at the Dover house, along with Anna's sock. Joy is found and reunited with her parents, and is hospitalized. The 2 girls were drugged and attempted to escape, but Anna was caught. When Keller asks Joy for information, she remembers little, but says she saw him there. Keller realizes she means Holly's house, and flees. Loki goes to Keller's building looking for him, but instead finds Alex. Keller arrives at Holly's and she holds him at gunpoint. She reveals that she and her husband abducted children of Christian families, as a war on God to avenge their son's death. and make similar families feel the same crisis of faith. Alex, really Barry Milland, was the first child they abducted, and Taylor the second. Holly drugs Keller and imprisons him in a hidden pit in her yard, where he finds his daughter's emergency whistle. Loki arrives at Holly's house to inform her Alex has been found. Seeing a photo of her late husband with the maze necklace, he realizes that Holly is the kidnapper and searches for her, finding her in the process of giving Anna an injection. Loki kills Holly in a shootout and rushes Anna to the hospital while he nurses a head wound from his firefight. Anna and Joy visit Loki in the hospital to thank him. Grace acknowledges that Keller will be arrested if found, but insists he is a good man. Later, Loki returns to Holly's house, where he faintly hears a whistle blowing. Loki initially dismisses the whistling, until he hears it a second time. Remember to turn on notifications, so you can watch more movie recaps like this. Thanks for watching.